Hello, beautiful friends. I am feeling really inspired and lit up to get into the themes and the core of this Leo new moon. These are some of my favorite themes and topics to explore, dissect, get a little deeper into. And I think these topics, which have to do with these words, growth and expansion, are something that even in the last 5 years of my life, I've really had a lot of rethink about what that means and how I want those words to play a role in my life and what that looks and feels like for me. So that's exactly what we are going to get into with this Leo new moon. Of course, when we're working with Leo, we're working with the heart chakra, we're working with creativity, kind of the vision of the child's eye, as well as being our own leader within our internal systems. So this really activates a very courageous and bold energy, but one that I think sometimes gets co-opted into a lot of external performance kind of type focus. And that's not just talking about Leos as people. Like, I'm a Leo sun, and there are plenty of people with lots of Leo energy, I'm sure, sitting here with me today. But the archetype of Leo and the energetics of Leo. And I think what this new moon is really going to help us do is get back in touch with the centeredness of Leonine energy and creative energy and reassess the way we want words like growth and expansion to move through our lives when we are working with that. And of course, this is a new moon, so this is about seed planting. And I think getting really intentional and really clear about the seeds that we are planting is going to be really valuable to send us into this next part of 2022. So let's get right into where we're going with this conversation. We have this new moon being created by the sun and moon conjunct at 5 degrees of Leo. And the big aspect that is popping up here for this new moon is going to be a trine with Jupiter in Aries. And Jupiter is stationing retrograde right around the time of this new moon, which is really interesting to me, right? So this is a very playful conversation between a new moon in Leo and Jupiter in Aries. These are expansive energies that want to see what happens next. Now, Jupiter stationing retrograde in Aries is going to start to shift the dialogue a little bit more into our internal landscape, how we are moving through our internal journeys, our hidden world journeys, and a lot less about how we are doing it out here in the physical. So already this new moon is going to have a little bit more focus on the journey internally. But beyond that, even if you just look at a new moon trining Jupiter in like very playful, vibrant fire signs, right away at first, it's going to be, oh my gosh, I'm growing, I'm changing, I'm expanding. This is awesome, right? I think there's a lot of energy there that has to do with those themes when you first look at it. But as I sat with this new moon and as I sat with these archetypes and these energies, I started to think about these words, growth and expansion. We hear them a lot. I think whether you're looking at business or growing something, or even in our own field here of healing and metaphysics and exploration and energetics, those words come up in our world. They are very popular words. They are words that I think have a positive connotation in general. However, it's important, I think, to own these words for ourselves and what we really mean by them for each of our own well-being. Because words like growth and expansion, which Jupiter is connected with, which the sun in Leo is connected with, which even this new moon in a seed planting part of the moon cycle, are really invested in, we're going to want to look at how those words work for us. So often I think the words growth and expansion, they've been kind of co-opted to be about the XY graph where you've got it up and to the right. Everything's expanding and growing and more and more and more. It's about the glow up, the before, the sad before photos and the much better after photos, the more money, the bigger apartment, whatever it is, And I'm not suggesting that all of us are just money crazy and want everything in the world, or that there's like something inherently wrong with wanting to have like stability and security. However, if that's our only definition of growth and expansion, it starts to turn into kind of this concept that comes up in Buddhist teachings of the hungry ghost. And there's a lot of cultures that have their own version of this hungry ghost. It's insatiable desire that just can never be filled, right? And I think a lot of these modern conceptions of like growth and expansion are essentially hungry ghosts. They're the archetype of the hungry ghost that can never be filled. You can never feel safe enough. You can never have enough. You can never improve enough. You can never feel youthful enough, whatever it is. Our consumer culture has set us up to also be really looking for that more, right? And even if we're conscious of it, which I know so many of us are stepping away from all of that and really redefining that, which is why this new moon is so powerful, even for those of us who have been doing that work, it's still so ingrained in the bedrock of our culture that often it will sneak back in even when we don't realize it, in our vision boards, in our goal setting, in the subconscious way we think about what we're getting done in the day. So where I'm going with all of this, with this new moon, is this is a chance with this beautiful, supportive, connective, flowing energy moving through this new moon to re-own and to really honor what growth and expansion means to you. And for me, when I think about those words in a way that feels whole and real and empowering and nourishing, it's about getting deeper, getting more intuitive, feeling more open, feeling my sense of centeredness and my ability to come back home to myself expanding and growing. I think for me, it's more about going deeper rather than it is about expanding out. And of course, there's another way you can think about growth, which is kind of expanding out to the connectedness of the world. Our ability to expand out to beyond our little individual selves and feel that expansion. There are a lot of ways that we can envision growth or expansion, these words that feel, I think, a lot more nourishing and a lot more rewarding and a lot more like we're connected to the process of the unfolding and the mystery of existing. And I think that's really where this new moon is taking us. On a more practical level, I think this new moon, because new moons are kind of about our intention setting. They're about sitting in the dark, right? There isn't that illumination, and really thinking about where we want our soul journey to go. And so this is also about kind of looking at maybe your to-do list, your expectation, your goals, your vision boards, and really noticing what is harmonizing with you and really noticing the things that we are supposed to want. And this gets really sneaky, I think. I've caught myself many times in my life, throughout life, where I'll have a goal of something that I feel, I want to be that, I want to do that. But when I really sat down to look at it, it didn't light me up. It didn't feel like anything to me. There was almost even a numbness to it. But I had gotten my head so into thinking that I needed to do work this certain way and host a retreat on a tropical island. That's just it's not who I am. That doesn't actually light me up, So this is also a great new moon to really kind of Marie Kondo our vision boards and really notice what is lighting us up and what is just not, and having a really honest reassessment of that. And I think this is so freeing. It frees us from that hungry ghost, insatiable part of ourselves that just, can never get enough and can never feel at peace. And it allows us to own our trajectory and our own path, and do that in more of a way that feels, it doesn't need to be about running to a destination over there. It can just be about lighting up a curiosity about what's unfolding here. So I love that energy That's my happy place energy. Even if I'm having difficult emotions, like I am a I'm a very melancholic person. I like wake up every morning from really intense dreams. And I'm starting to shuffle here. And a lot of them have to do with, loss and exploration. And that's just like been a part of me for a long time. It's partially, I think, epigenetics. It's partially just my spirit is very interested in the hidden and the unseen. And for a long time, I feel like I used to feel like that was something really negative about me. But as I've come to accept more of who I am, I've realized these things aren't actually sadness. They're a curiosity. They're a longing. They are a part of my creative capacity. And in finding peace with that, I no longer feel like I have to have goals that involve, like changing my viewpoint, like changing the way my lenses out to try and put on like happy-go-lucky ones, or like that there's something inherently wrong with me, and I can just find a peace within the way that I create and the way that I see. And that actually has given me more joy than trying to be a happy person with high energy who is pretending to be this person that's on the internet talking to you, pretending to be, oh, and a card, if you can see right there, wanted to fall through. Knight of Pentacles. Very cautious energy. That's really interesting to me. I'm going to follow that up with one more card. Okay, two more cards. Wheel of Fortune and Justice. Wanted to pop out. That's very interesting. Let's start with Knight of Pentacles. I've always been a fan of this card. Of course, overdone. This energy can, of course, leave us feeling a little frustrated and stagnated, and we don't want to stay here our whole lives. But going back to kind of this idea of looking at our vision boards, our to-do lists, our things that we think we have to improve and optimize about ourselves, or whatever the case may be, I think the Knight of Pentacles takes a really clear look at things, right? This is a card of assessment. It's a card of stopping our motion, not feeling like we need to be running forward, and really looking with like fresh eyes at how we are setting ourselves up with our goals, with how we are setting ourselves up on a path that we think we need to be on, and just noticing. And I'm not suggesting all of us are completely erroneous in our paths and that we're all just having the wrong priorities. I don't think that's the case. I think this gets to be a lot subtler and quieter. It's about these little details about the way we treat ourselves and about the way that we push ourselves that we'll be noticing during this new moon. And I think the Knight of Pentacles energy is really, really useful for really looking. How are we grounding ourselves? How are we setting ourselves up? What wall are we putting our ladder up against? Where are we putting this energy? Is it really where we want to start walking? So that's the first part of this, right? And then of course, we get our big major arcana energy here. The Wheel of Fortune is a time of change, right? And this new moon is happening right close to Lammas, August 1st. This change in the year for the kind of Wheel of the Year time, where we're going to start to be working with new themes that have to do with introspection and harvest and change. The Wheel of Fortune for me is about certain seasons of life may be ending. We may be noticing that during this new moon. This can be a really useful new moon for acknowledging seasons that have closed. Also, seasons that are begging for you to let them have a chance. And this is actually the other part of this new moon. I'm talking a lot about like kind of letting go of growth and expansion where we don't really want to grow and expand. But also I would say this new moon is just as importantly about where we do really honestly want to give ourselves permission to grow and expand, where we want to be that creator, where we want to be that explorer, where we want to let ourselves go and see. So I think for me, the Wheel of Fortune is just as much about where we are also maybe feeling like we're not allowed to start putting our fire and our energy in that direction because it doesn't fit the timeline. It doesn't fit who we've been before. It doesn't fit our past selves. It doesn't fit the way that people in our lives have envisioned us before. This Wheel of Fortune is telling us it's time for letting go of some of that and opening. And I think the same with the Justice cards is really interesting. You know, Justice is a calibrator, a clarifier. This is honesty. A lot of the cards today are about straight up honesty. And for me, Justice is that calibration between what is time to let go of and what is time to embrace of. And I love the Justice energy because it can give us those incisive moments of aha, clarity that sometimes have felt like it's taken us a little while to connect with. And it's kind of like once you know, there's no unknowing it. So I will say, I think this new moon is about knowing something, acknowledging something that maybe has been a little scary, maybe we've been a little nervous to acknowledge. But in doing that, we are owning the way that we want growth and expansion to show up in our lives. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a beautiful Leo new moon. I am going to be activating this new moon over on my Patreon. We do this with every single moon. I kind of walk you through a visualization, a way to work with the energy more specifically, a way to really get in touch with it and move through it. If you're kind of feeling overwhelmed by how to even begin the process of exploring what growth and expansion means to you, I would love to see you there. It is such a beautiful community. And for those of you who are already with me, you have changed my life. You make it possible for me to keep showing up. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am also on Instagram, and you can find me on my email, my website, so I'll leave all the links for you to find me below. I would love it if you stuck around and subscribed, and we will just keep this adventure rolling along. There's so much up ahead as we move into this section of the year, so I can't wait to see where it takes us in this journey. I love you all so much.